ready to rock.
Perfect. Jermaine Johnson, thank you so much for giving me time and sitting down and, carving out time in your busy schedule to have a conversation with me. And I'm so glad you're doing that. So, one, thank you. And two, how's your day been? How's it going?
Well, running for governor is not an easy task. No, nobody warned me about how busy essentially that I would be. But I kind of thought, I would have to do a lot of these things. So it's just about 100 times more busy than usual.
Mhm.
But it's been a good day. It's been a good day. Lots of meetings and things like that. Just talking to people, and then I actually was able to carve out some time early this morning to go on a bike ride with my wife. To spend some time with her and just enjoy being husband and being a dad. So I try to make sure I've got time to do everything that I need to do.
I love that. Where did you two go biking? Finley Park?
No, so we actually we live in Lower Richland. So
Hmm.
we just ride around Lower Richland, right around there's a lake back here called Sunview Lake. We ride around that. We'll go ride past Southeast Park.
Hmm.
We like to ride up at Coffin Road Park. So we just ride around. Our kids go to the summer camp at Coffin Road. So
Hmm.
we just go over there and hang out with the kids and ride around and do that type of stuff. So to get some exercise out here.
I love the idea, or not the idea. I love the fact that we have a state politician and one who's running for governor who's a bike rider, enjoys parks and outdoors. That's always like a good indication for me, and I think for a lot of people. And I'm glad
I'm
you're
a
doing
I'm a
this.
big nature guy. I'm a big nature guy.
Mhm.
I like to camp. I like to do that type of stuff. I like to sit outside. I like looking at trees. I like looking at the foliage. That type of stuff. So my wife is more of a beach person. I'm more of a
Mhm.
nature person, man. I watch a lot of Animal Planet. That type of
Mhm.
stuff. Just sitting there to get back to my equilibrium.
So it brings you a sense of peace, like, is
Yeah.
that what draws you to like nature?
Yes, yes, it's the sense of peace. It's because I'm super busy all the time, always doing something.
Mhm.
And when I get that opportunity to sit down, I'll sit on the couch and like I said, I watch the Animal Planet. It's just seeing the animals, seeing the nature, and then when I get to be outside to see the nature, I sit on my porch, my rocking chair, and just the calm, the sense of being outside and just seeing the nature, watching the animals, that type of stuff. It kind of takes me away from all the fast paced stuff that I have to do every single day. I'm always here, there, everywhere. But just to be able to sit back, relax, and just to it's cliche, but they always tell you to just take time to stop and smell the roses. And I like to just smell the roses. I like to see that stuff, and to just to really realize that I'm alive.
I love that. That's incredible. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I know I absolutely can relate to that. And I'm glad you said that because the first question, because most of the questions and most of this conversation will be connected to things to the general election. But not to downplay your success. One, well, I guess it'd be three because I listed one and two earlier. Three, congratulations on winning the Democratic primary. So well done on that. And I know you're looking forward, but give me a sense a little bit of like what that was like for you. And just, don't view that question or that request as like stepping back. We know you're focused on the general and you're moving forward strongly. But give people who you want to vote for you, or those who are planning to vote for you, or those who are learning about you, a sense of what it's like to run for governor, but within, your own party in a primary level. Like, what emotions did you feel? Did you have any worries? Like, give us a sense of what was going through your head, other than success and we got it moving forward.
Yeah,
What's what it was
I,
like to do the work.
I like that question because I don't think a lot of people really understand what all goes into running for an office like this, or what goes into running for office at all. I think you know a little bit about running for office yourself. What that's like. But running on a statewide level, running for a big office,
Mhm.
you start to have different experiences with people. You start to really find out who truly is a loyal individual. See, I'm loyal to a fault. I will go down with the ship with somebody who has been there with me, and that's just the type of person I am. I'm just a loyal person, and you start to realize that not everybody is like you. Not everybody is as loyal as you are, and because I'm a very emotional being. And my life has been built on trust and types of relationships. when people don't do the things that you believe they were going to do or that they said they would do, it hurts. It hurts you to it hurts you to a core. And from somebody like myself, I think it hurts me more traditionally than more than a traditional, like, lifelong politician, because I'm not a lifelong politician. And when things happen and it don't go your way, or some people, they do things to sabotage your success, or you see jealousy, or you see things come out, it just hurts, man. It hurts. So a lot of this run during the primary, it was just me discovering people. And like my Aunt Angelou was talking about, when people show you who they are, believe them. And I just kind of discovered who people were. I discovered that politics, a lot of times, for these individuals, is their entire life, and it's just business as usual. And making it to the other side, when you have some of these same people coming back around, because they're treating it just like it's traditional politics, and they believe that I should operate as a traditional politician, and I can't. That's just not me. I can't operate as a traditional politician. So I'm having a hard time myself opening myself back up to people who've walked away and now want to come back.
Mm.
But I'm a human, man. I'm a human being. I have feelings. Things hurt me. And it was difficult. Watching some people on the Democrat side, not even for the same race that I'm running in, but watching some people get certain levels of success financially, other than what I got or I've received. And you start to build this hardcore around yourself, where it's like, all right, well, I just got to do it on my own. I'll just do it myself. And because of my life and all the things that I've always been I can truly depend on myself. I can always depend on myself, and I'm always going to be the hardest working person in the room. Nobody's going to outwork me. And I would just, if I got to do 5, 10, 15 jobs myself, I'm going to do it. And that's one of my superpowers.
Real quick to what you just said, you aren't alone. I went through that a little bit too, and for me, our backgrounds are a little different, but what surprised me when I ran was the contrast, that dichotomy you get when there are people who do not know you, but they are sharing things. They're making sure. There were some people, every post they sharing, or you ask them to do something, they did it. Because I didn't want to fundraise. I don't like that deal of money in politics. But when you have strangers doing more than people who are very close to you,
Yeah,
it does. It's just evident, and you're not alone with that. And while I wasn't as successful as you were, because it is what it is. But for me, it was about, we need to have a certain conversation around affordability, working class. So I'm competitive, wanted to win, but there were bigger things. So I was like, I just have to make sure now I'm in it. So we're talking about certain things and not doing the traditional. But you aren't alone in that. There is something about politics, though, where it's like even some of the bestest or closest friends were like, it's just something about it. And I won't get too deep on that, but keep moving forward. It's a way of distilling things, it's a way of refining yourself. And it's not that you don't even have to get back together because people are connected again. You have to treat it as if, in my opinion, as if you're preparing for a coronation. No
yeah,
one knows the future, but there's a certain process you have to go to if you're going to wear the crown. Also,
yeah,
part of that process, too, if you are successful, that's one of the birds of the crown. You will have to learn how to, you don't have to like what they did, but also,
yeah,
okay, we will have to connect, and now you're that leader. So you aren't alone in that.
yeah,
But
yeah. My one of the things that I say a lot of is leaders do not have the luxury of holding grudges.
mhm.
And as a leader, I can't, I know I cannot hold a grudge, but it does not remove my feelings. I've got emotions. A lot of people will say that, Jermaine, you'll cry. I'm a crier. I'll cry, and I don't have a problem with that. And I don't think that makes me any less of a man. But I'll cry when my feelings being hurt, man, because seeing the stuff that I've seen, and going through the things that I've experienced, man, it hurts, man. It hurts, and these people, they just don't understand what it's like. So
No, I feel you. I feel you. Do you feel that being, because I'm a very non-traditional person, I've been all my life. So for me, it's like, oh, like I'm not traditional. I'm not going to give the typical in anything that I do. I hope I'm not giving typical. Though I'm sure there might be examples where I was, but for me, it's like I don't really think too much about that because I've always kind of been like to the left. Or I'm very much to the left, and I'm just talking about politically. But do you ever have thoughts, being that you are a state legislator and you are running for a larger office, you're running for the governor? Do you sometimes have a thought like you were that, oh, is this the right approach? Because even myself as an artist, sometimes I think like, oh, like I'm gonna do me, I'm gonna do my way. But there is something that thought like, should I follow this script? What are your thoughts around that and like your non-traditional approach in something that's so traditional like Southern politics?
Right. So my non-traditional approach has got me much further than that traditional political pathway. Because if I had followed the traditional political pathway, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you today as the nominee for governor of South Carolina.
Mhm.
Because even before I got elected to the House of Representatives, I was told that I needed to wait. I was told that I needed to run for something like school board. I was told that it wasn't my time. I was told that I needed to wait in line, or I was being disrespectful for just trying to get out there and run for this office. I was told I was too young. If you see my campaign logo, you see it says Dr. Jermaine Johnson. I never wanted to be called Dr. Jermaine Johnson, but they were saying that I was too young to run for office. So I had to end up putting doctor on my sign so people knew I was a little bit older, had more experience than what it was. But I
Mhm.
never wanted doctor on my signs, and now people are calling me Dr. Johnson, but I never asked for anybody to call me Dr. Johnson,
Mhm.
and it's so the traditional way just never worked for me. I don't have a traditional political background. I don't have the traditional political experience. That traditional stuff. I'm a person who wants to see good for people and wants to
Mhm.
do good for people, and that's just who I am, and it's just worked out for me. And then even running this race here, being a grassroots people person, that has worked out for me and has allowed me to be the nominee here. And it has also showed the traditional politicians that tradition doesn't always work. It's time for change. It's time for something new. And people are just they're okay and they're willing for something different and non-traditional.
I love that the conversation aligning because I've literally had traditional written down as my second question. I'll give that question to you now since we're already there. You and I are both very much aware of the traditional ways to run for office. And the question, you've already kind of covered a little bit, but now you can give more detail. So it's perfect. What are one of the ways, or share whatever ways, how many ways you want, that you are implementing or planning to use to keep voters engaged? Get people to turn out and vote for you. And you're a black man running for the governorship in South Carolina. Even reach out to those who might traditionally vote Republican or conservative. Like, what is a new and unique way? Because when you think about your position, if you were to win, that would be historic. And if you look at history, like different individuals who are running for office or who make history, they implemented new things along with the traditional, and it
Mm-hmm.
most times led to their success. So not get too deep on strategy because it's a battle. You win the war, but yeah, like what's the new way that you plan on approaching campaigning? Not traditional. What's something that's new and unique to what Jermaine Johnson's
Yeah.
approach to reaching people?
What I've done is I've gone to places where they've never seen a candidate before. I've gone to those places where they'll be like, "Man, you're the first candidate to ever come out here to this location." Like I was in the colonies and the bishops, and I was out there with those guys and talking to them about being registered to vote and getting out to vote and expungements and pardons and things like that, so they can have the records clean, so they can be okay with what they're doing. I've gone to the small towns, the places where there's 5, 10, 15 people at a meeting. I've gone to places where it's predominantly white. I've gone to places where it's predominantly black. I've just traveled everywhere. Even if even if I have to drive there myself, I've driven to these places myself. In my
Mhm.
district, we've had like traditional Republican groups, and I'll go there and talk to them, and I'll go meet with those individuals and represent everybody essentially. So the things that I've been doing differently is I've just been meeting people exactly where they are,
Mhm.
not trying to do the way of looking for big name endorsements, not trying to do the way of traditional TV, not trying to do the way of traditional, I have to have the biggest bank account or I have to know these big name people. No, I just been going directly to the people, and
Mhm.
I think that's what has been missing in politics is politicians now are so out of touch with what everyday people are looking for or what everyday people represent. They talk about loving teachers and loving students. Every politician loves teachers. Every politician loves students. But when's the last time any of them have been inside of a school to go talk to those teachers, to go volunteer, to go substitute teach? That's what I did. I went in there, I substitute taught. I go volunteer. I go talk to the kids. I want the kids to see me. So I put my money where my mouth is. And even before I was doing this, I did a statewide tour with a bunch of former gang members to go to these. I went to about 30 different counties talking to people about what were their issues in their respective counties. I just go directly to the people, and you'll see online, you'll see people saying, "Hey, Jermaine, like 15 years ago, Jermaine did this for me, or 10 years ago, he did this for me, or 12 years ago, he did this for me. He saved my life." I don't ever, most of the time, I don't ever brag about the things that I do. Like, I don't post pictures about all the things that I'm doing. I don't make posts about all the different things that I'm doing. I'm just there doing the work. And that has been, that's been the real struggle with me running for governor here. Is like a lot of people say, if you're not posting about it, then it didn't happen. If you're not putting a picture up, it didn't happen. If you're not doing this, it didn't happen. And that's been my struggle, is trying to lean into the whole posting about it and being on social media, because I'm just a guy who wants to get the work done. I don't care who gets the credit. The work just has to get done. Lives need to be saved. Lives need to be changed. We need to be investing in these communities. And that's who I am. So I don't think the traditional politicians and the people in the Democratic Party really expected me to have this much support as you saw on the primary election night. But I knew it. I knew I had that much support because I've been doing it for so long. I just haven't been bragging about it.
No, it's nice to, when people, don't think you can do something, or what's the phrase I'm looking for? Because it's almost like a colloquialism. When people like not discount you or take you for granted. I'm missing the actual phrase I want to use, but it's always nice when like, oh, like you didn't see this coming, or you didn't think I could do this, but look at me now. So that is a good
Right.
feeling. In this part, what I'm going to say is less of a question and more food for thought. I do think this though, or feel this. I think you're right. Non-traditional is very helpful. But the six minutes you'll have, though, I think you might, not I think, I won't even qualify. You will need to mix traditional with the non-traditional. Who's doing your social media? Quick question, quick answer. Who's doing your
Yeah,
social media?
so we actually have somebody named Nicole. She's doing some social media right now, but we also have
Mhm.
a digital team that does stuff. And then
Mhm.
we're gonna be bringing on somebody else also that's gonna be on the ground with me now. Now that we're in the
Mhm.
general, somebody will be on the ground helping out with that type of stuff. Follow me around some
Perfect.
places and recording and all that type of stuff.
Perfect.
So we'll expand it, and that's literally what I wanted to do. After I made it
Mhm.
to the general, I wanted to bring both sides together, the traditional with the non-traditional, and then
Mhm.
essentially, got two sides. So I can, unite the party, unite the
Mhm.
people, unite everybody around, who wants to
Absolutely.
be a part of it. So
And see if you can get your team, or you probably can get the direct request. Reach out to the SCDP. I was on their page. You would think, in my opinion, this is a column, they would have a pin post about, okay, we have these people running for different state reps. So here's a pin post for, this large office. Because I was on their page and I was like, well, oh, you know, I'm an Anna Winter, I'm a Vogueite. So I'm like, oh, like there's so many things I want different photos, I want to look different, that kind of clean this up. But I was like, well, oh, if you're having someone who's running for governor, who's a Democrat, and there may be a historic win for them, like pin this post so people see that, and then they'll get
mhm.
excited about that, and then they can look into the other reps. But is there a way to get the state party to get more organized and more focused and not saying they're not supportive. Are they
Right.
being supportive? Do you think you get no support from the state
They,
party?
the thing is, I haven't. So they are now that I'm in the general election. They are coming around to helping out with some things and coordinated efforts and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But before I even got into this race, I got a call from somebody who said, "Jermaine, hey, if you're going to run for governor, we need you to lead us. We can't wait on the Democratic Party. We can't wait on this group. We can't wait on that group. We need you to lead us." So essentially, what I'm doing is I'm leading. I'm leading. I've talked to the candidates, all the candidates that are around the state. I've talked to them about, coming to their areas to do events with them, to help them out, to make sure we galvanize support around everybody in the state, because we do have a historic opportunity to flip a lot of these seats and to do amazing work. So I'm building infrastructure. I'm leading. I've got stuff building out in every single county, all 46 counties. So I'm going to build something that, essentially, even when I'm not on the ballot, I'm still going to have an infrastructure to continue building towards the
Mhm.
future. I'm
That's
not going to wait on
important.
anybody else. I'm building it myself.
No, don't wait on anyone else. Just if there is an opportunity while you're leading, even if
Mm-hmm.
the delegated, make sure that, whether it's them or any organization or any individual, like you're going to the people, that's just part of it too. Get the support you feel you deserve and get the support that you want. And it's not about calling them every day. It can be as simple as, oh, this is an agenda item. Those with my team, make this happen if this is possible. Get
Mm-hmm.
on the phone with what is it? I can't think of his name right now. I can see his face in his head, but the leader, the executive director of that, and just say, oh, like,
Yeah, Jay Parmley.
yes, Jay Palmer,
Yeah.
thank you. Like, whether it's a collaborative post, because it's things like that, and because mathematically you won't be able to reach everybody, even though your heart's
Mm-hmm.
big enough and you want to, and what you're telling me and what I'm seeing, you are working very hard. But it is a numbers game. So part of that is like, okay, while I'm visiting these small counties or visiting Pamplico, South Carolina, a place a lot of politicians don't go to, right outside of Florence, y'all need to make sure this is up on the SEDP so those in bigger cities who are following that kind of thing, there's a strength in getting it done, there's a strength in leading, but keep in mind you're leading and people are counting on you, and especially those who plan to vote for you. So even, don't do something against your nature, but say, hey, I'm leading, I'm gonna be me. But this is about them, so it's always less about our ego. But moving from that, speaking of non-traditional, you did a good job at the South Carolina ETV debate. The two men you were running against that were in the primary with you, have you been in contact with them in this moment now? I'm You are laughing. Oh my goodness. We love a laugh.
Unfortunately,
Mhm.
you see my guy Randy Kanye popped
Oh
up.
goodness. Oh goodness. Well, the guy from the upstate gave you a hug during the debate when it ended. I was like, oh, he seems so nice. It seemed like, y'all were very cordial, very friendly.
Unfortunately, we have had limited communication since the
Mhm.
primary has been over with. Now, I'm hopeful that in the future we will have
Mhm.
some conversation, but it has been very limited up until today.
Well, why do you think it's been limited? And be honest. Not that you wouldn't be, but yeah.
I think the primary for these individuals is still too fresh.
Mhm.
I think that we had a lot of people around this state, matter of fact, and quite frankly, around the country, that thought that this race would at least go off into a runoff.
Mhm.
And I think that was the anticipation there. And I think it's just too fresh that they can't believe that somebody who was not a self-funded multimillionaire could actually still reach the people and still
Right.
come out on top
Right.
the way that I did. So I think there's still, like I said, there's still a little fresh, still a little fresh in their
Mhm.
minds, and I think that they just have to get through it. So
Right. We got to give people a minute to breathe. But I was thinking,
yeah.
we'll form my thought into a question because it was one thing I thought about like a few weeks ago. Given the locations upstate and low country, and then traveling everywhere, and when you also think about, the personal wealth, and then when you think about traditionally the hurdles or hills that face Black candidates when they're fundraising, especially in the South. Do you think they could be helpful as far as one donating to your campaign since apparently they wanted to be the Democratic nominee and help people? So one, do you think they could be helpful financially to your campaign? And two, do you think there's a way to make a request for this, you or your team, to have them keep going, keep campaigning, but just act more than a surrogate, but be like ambassadors with
Yeah.
deep pockets where their campaigns are still going, but now it's one message, it's unified, it's the Democrats who want Jermaine Johnson. Is that possible? Because that would
It,
help with your fundraising. If they can cut checks to themselves for millions, they can cut you a check for 500,000, you would think, if they care about these issues or, I'm on this team, this blue team or this Democratic team, why not coordinate some sort of, not a panel, but some kind of like committee was like, y'all come to Jesus, let's get this together. You give me 250, you give me whatever the case may be. Also keep your social media active and we have to approach this. And that's leadership. Do you think that's leadership?
I listen. I agree with everything you're saying, and that's about as far as I'm gonna go into that one. I agree with
And
everything you're saying. You are 100% spot on. And I tell you that before the primary, I gave that commitment. I said, I don't care what happens in this primary, I'm in it. I said, I'm in it. Win, lose, or draw, I'm committed to helping people. across this state. I'm committed to helping the individuals, and that's how I've always been. I've always been that type of person. I don't have to be the top guy. I will do what I have to do to make sure we move South Carolina forward.
Mhm.
I don't know if everybody believes the same way that I believe, but you are. I'm gonna just say it again. You are 100% spot on. Phenomenal take that you got there, and hey.
Well, I'm just a little. I really love politics. It just makes sense to me. But see, I'm very much a person. Whether it's the bookstore, granola and like happy-go-lucky, La La Land sometimes or fashion. It's very much like, oh, like if they're on one team, like oh, you want to win, but now that we're out, like we're still on this team, and you don't have to get too deep. Or maybe just give a yes or a no. And is this and saying a no isn't necessarily a bad thing because you get this from this larger organizations, especially with personalities, and politicians are personalities. There's a lot of egos, for better
Mhm.
and for worse.
Yep.
Do you feel the state party, and those within it are not? And again, don't get too deep, but do you feel like we're unified enough, or could be better unified? Like you would think it would be lockstep. So,
Yeah.
do
So
you think we're unified
the
enough?
state party and then power brokers, those are two separate groups.
Mm,
Right.
mm,
So the state party, they're doing what they're supposed to do as the state party. But
mm,
then there are powerful power brokers who are Democrats that have their own way, their own outlook,
mm,
their own type of, dollars or and donors and those different and influence and that type of stuff. And those are the individuals that we need to be concerned about, who kind of are trying to direct things in the way that they want to see them.
mm.
I think we can be more unified in
Mm,
terms of Democrats in South Carolina. You've got like two or three different wings of the Democratic Party, and what I've tried to do is bring them all together. I've tried to bring them all together underneath my new SC, hashtag, to
mhm,
allow everybody an opportunity to have a space to say what needs to be said and to direct their own specific groups so we can get to one common goal and one common interest. I think we can. I think we can get unified, but the issue that we have is we have not traditionally had somebody who had that ability to unite everybody under one flag. In the past, it used to be good enough to just say you're a Democrat. If you said you were a Democrat, you were like, all right, we're underneath the same flag. But
mm,
it's not how it is anymore. If you say you're a Democrat, well, what type of Democrat are you? Are you a progressive
mm,
Democrat? Are you a moderate Democrat? Are you a Democrat socialist? Or are you a liberal? I mean, there's a bunch of different
mm,
Democratic type groups that are out there.
right,
And because you have so many different Democratic groups, it's like, who can be the one that can bring them all together to
mhm.
talk about the issues so we can get to the same destination in which we're all trying to get there, which is a better quality of life for everybody. And that's what I've prided myself on doing, is bringing everybody into the same fold and talking about a new South Carolina where we can all thrive.
Right. And I'm moving on after this. I will say this. Not like I kept saying, that you are on that path though. The step to getting more of that unity, and I've learned this with Columbia politics, state politics, and just like, studying history. You're on that path though. The step is being honest about it. And it's not about giving details now. No, don't do that. But it's being clear with people so the voters understand, oh, here's what's going on. If this traditional politician is thinking this person, they just have a better understanding of like, well, oh, you're not saying they're right or they're wrong or you're better or whatever the case may be if they pick someone else. But they have a clear understanding of, oh, what each candidate or you in particular are working against. Because as you say this now, of course, it's like, well, oh, he's not just running for governor, he's also running also another campaign, to make sure he's being supported by those who are on his team. Yeah, I think just talking about being honest, hey, like, no shade or not to be angry or mad, even though it can be annoying. It's like, oh, here are the
Kelly
things
Rowland's
you can
better,
do.
but hey, go ahead.
It's just, I think that's part of it, just being clear about the challenges you're facing and how you're going to meet those challenges. But just being honest and you're doing that. Thinking of the general, and other than Alan Wilson being in a different party, what are the differences between two, or what do you think is the fundamental difference? Because Republicans claim and say, just like Democrats, or just like you, that they want to help, they want to move South Carolina forward in certain ways. And yeah, different parties, different approaches, and different beliefs. But what's at the core of that, in your opinion? And keep in mind that we have 10 minutes, and not to rush you,
Yep.
because I'm so grateful for your time. So answer it as full as you can, but while thinking about the time. But what do you think is the difference between you and Alan Wilson as far as like, oh, other than like rhetoric and what they're saying and what my side is saying and what I'm saying, here's why you should vote for me.
Yeah.
Here's the real difference between he and I.
Yeah, I think Alan Wilson as much of the government experience as he has. He's essentially been born and bred to be a politician. I think Alan Wilson lacks the true life experience that's necessary. See, I've got the life experience, I've got the educational experience, and I've got the legislative experience of being an actual elected official up there. Alan Wilson he can say he cares about education, but did he have to go to 7 different high schools and go to private school and public school and to figure this stuff out? He can say he cares about stopping the gun violence around the state. Is as high as it is right now. He could say he cares about stopping it, but I actually lost a brother to gun violence. He
Mm-hmm.
can say he cares about the homeless population and them having somewhere to live, but I was actually homeless. He can say he cares about people who have lived in poverty and have been hungry, but I've actually had times where I didn't have something to eat. He can say he cares about these student loans and all these different things, but I have student loans. Like, so the things that I'm talking about and that I'm advocating for are things that I've experienced myself. It's not something that I learned from a book. I didn't learn it from a documentary. I didn't learn it from a study. I didn't learn it from those things. I actually lived it. So when people are coming to me to saying, Jermaine, we need you to do something about this, I'm like, well, I have experience in that. I've gone through it. I want to fight to help eradicate that. So that's the difference between me and him, is that his stuff, he's going to have to bring people in who have experience in that, or he's going to have to rely on data and statistics and things like that. I just need to go back in my memory and say, man, I remember what that was like. I remember what that struggle was like. I remember, and I'm still suffering from the effects of what gun violence does to a family. Like, I still think about what type of relationship I could have had with my brother had he not been taken from me when he had just turned 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I still suffer from some childhood trauma, thinking about what it's like to be fighting to make sure that your family doesn't have to live in a motel like I did. I still thinking about those things. I try to get my oldest son, he's 18, to understand spending habits. What this is going to do, because I know myself, when my bank account used to get to a certain amount, I would have anxiety. I'd sweat. I couldn't sleep. I was like PTSD, man. It was like real tough. I had to go to therapy for this, to deal with those situations, because I didn't want to be homeless again. Like, these are things that he's never going to know or understand. These are things that I understand just by being me.
Do you think part of the task, and I'll characterize it this way with the word performance, do you think part of your task is to cut through his performance of, being about certain things or about being about the people or being best for people with your lived experience? Do you think that's part of your task?
Absolutely, absolutely. My job running for governor right now is to motivate, is to inspire, is to show people that there can be opportunity, there is light at the end of the tunnel, to show people that it's possible, and to show people that, hey, you have somebody who wants to help you to figure this out, who has also gone through what you have gone through. I've broken all the generational curses that my family has had. I have restored the love and the compassion in my family. I have built a beautiful family of myself, my wife, and my 4 children. My oldest son is upstairs making noise right now. And he's 18, and he'll be 19 in August. And I remember 19 years old when I was at College of Charleston, sleeping in the locker room on Christmas morning. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, these are things that he would never have to experience. And I want to show the people of South Carolina that they can all be me. Like, they can be me. They can do the things that I've done. They can achieve it. And you don't have to have the most perfect background, but you can still be a successful individual.
Last question. We started the conversation talking about peace, what brings you calm, things you do to handle the busyness and the stresses that may come with doing what you're doing. That's outside of politics nature. What's making you smile? What's bringing you hope? What's making you feel good, despite the hills that we have to face, the hill that you're climbing and safely climbing for those of us here in South Carolina. And based on conversation, I do believe you. I won't even like try to be in the middle of the room. No, I do believe you. Despite climbing that hill, what's making you feel good? Is there a breeze on that hill while you're going up? Like, what's making you smile? What's giving you hope and keeping you going, despite all the things that you are dealing with while running for governor?
Yeah, so I've been asked that question multiple times at the state house. I go to the state house and people are like, man, why are you always smiling? Why are you always happy? Or, why is, and my answer is always the same. It's like, man, because I know what's on the other side of the tracks. I remember my very first goal in my life was just to live to the age of 18. I remember, how difficult some of these things were. I remember when I got a contract to go play basketball in Mexico. I was on a bad team, a team that was like very corrupt, and the team ran out of money,
Mm,
and they didn't tell us anything. So they got it. We had just lost the game, and they drove us back to a hotel in a place called Tepic, Mexico.
mm,
And the next morning, I woke up, and there was no, they had no more reservations on the room. So I was literally just put out. So I was sitting on the steps of this hotel at 11 o'clock in the morning with nowhere else to go. I had nowhere to go. I had no money. I had no nothing.
mm.
And I was like, dang, well, what the heck I'm gonna do? Like in another country, trying to figure this thing out. And then by the grace of God, I got a Facebook message on my phone with a team offering me a contract to come play basketball in Portugal, and they bought me a plane ticket that day to fly to Portugal to go play on a professional basketball team in Portugal. So I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff. I've gone through some crazy things. I've seen a lot and experienced a lot in my life. And if the worst thing that happens to me is I lose an election, I mean, I'm still a blessed man. I've got a healthy family. I've got healthy children that will never experience what I experienced in my life. My kids don't know anything outside of being spoiled brats. They every day they're just asking what they're having for dinner. I mean, they get to go in the refrigerator and a pantry to go grab something to eat whenever they want something to eat. They have their own. All of them have their own bedrooms. I mean, like stuff like that, man. It's the things that I get to watch my family enjoy. I mean, we've gone on vacations. I never went on vacation, man. Like my family, we get to go on vacations. Like my kids have been on a plane before. I mean, so it's the little stuff like that I'm like, man. There's I've experienced. God has given me double for my trouble. I mean, He truly has given me double for my trouble, man. So that keeps me smiling, is knowing that my family is healthy, they are supported, and they're going to grow up without the trauma that I had.
I love that. I love that you ended it mentioning your family and those who will hear this, read this, and see this, all of that. And I love the fact too, don't just get caught and lost on that because I was like, what within politics? And I love the point you made about, what's on the other side? What's on the other side for the people? And, politics are what they are, but you can never lose when you're working to do something for others and for people. That's the end of my questions, Representative Jermaine Johnson. Is there anything else you want to say or share before we end the conversation?
Well, I mean, first of all, just thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for having the courage to run yourself, because I know it was difficult. I know it was tough. I know it was
I had a blast. It was so fun. I wanted two other people to run, but they truly didn't want to do it. They were busy. They would have been great though. But
yeah,
strategically, to make sure it wasn't the same things talking about as far as like safety, yada, 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 and also to make sure we had a better candidate at large. I was like, oh, if these two people want to do it, at a certain point, I got to stop looking for people. I just have to do it and make sure we're having certain conversations. But I had so much fun. And again, you
yeah.
learn a lot about yourself, learn a lot about people. But it's no records. I'm far from perfect. I'm very much I wouldn't even say flawed. I am very much just not traditional. I'm someone who's open and honest about what I like, what I do, the things I care about politically, socially, culturally. And I'm very much sure that we're still within that portion of the
I
timeline. It's
I
like,
tell you
you
one
gotta
thing
look
I
and
learned
be
from
a certain
you.
way.
I'll tell you one thing I learned from you is that you brought up the transit issue. You brought the transit issue in the comment and bringing that stuff up about having real people on the buses and talking about the real issues that people were having when it comes to transportation. So just know I was watching and I was listening. All right, and I learned that from you.
I appreciate you, and I'm so glad you gave me this time so we could talk about you. And again, thank you.